Hello, and welcome to Developer Skills Sprints. I'm JT. Today is May 29th, 2014, and this is the first of many skill sprint sessions focusing today on building C++ packages for 64-bit Windows. So what are developer skill sprints? Well, this is a new series that we're starting today, and the idea is to focus on a very short, very focused topic. The idea is that you can build a specific skill that you can walk away with today and start using right away. These are going to be live events, primarily so that you also can ask questions from us. And they're going to be pretty short sessions, 10, 15, 20 minutes with question and answer time. We're going to run them 3 times a day, every Tuesday and Thursday for the next few months. So make sure that you come to them pretty regularly. Now today, we're going to focus on a particular skill, and that is how to build 64-bit Windows packages using C++ Builder XE6. This feature is available now in C++ Builder XE6, so we're going to walk through a few steps on how to do that. But before we get into a walkthrough or demonstration, I'd like to just take a moment to talk about why packages are important or interesting. Packages are a unique feature of RAD Studio, Delphi, and C++ Builder. And basically packages are libraries. They are places that you can put functionality that you can then reference and link into an existing application. And just like most library formats, you can link them statically or you can link them dynamically. Now, where packages really become important or interesting is when you link statically against them. This is a lot like using a DLL or a shared object on non-Windows systems. But with this mechanism, packages present a flexible way really to do a couple things. One is you can use this to manage large code bases so that you're building parts of your application into separate binaries, not one humongous binary. You can also use this to manage your app features, put certain features into one library versus another. And the result is that just like a DLL, your actual executable file is going to be much smaller than one that links in all the required libraries. You can deploy one library onto a system and many apps can share it, so they can all reference that same library from a common directory and load it up. And you can also use it to update features. So this is one way that you can deploy an app, and as you need to add new features, rather than replacing all the files or just the exe, just replace a package file or two. In fact, this is how we deliver our product. The IDE loads components to enable VCL and FireMonkey development, and this is used for IDE, primarily for IDE design time integration. So let's jump into C++ Builder XE6, and we're going to go ahead and build a 64-bit component, and we're going to then use that in a 64-bit application. So if we look at the menu, we have all the standard choices to create new VCL or FireMonkey apps. You can see also your choice for building a DLL or a static library, as well as your choice to build a package. And packages can host all sorts of things. But what packages are particularly used for in this environment is for loading IDE packages so that you can build your own components. So we'll create a new component, and this component is going to be based on a ancestor, a T button. So we'll just call it, well, first of all, let's find the T button in here, okay? And then we'll call it TMyButton. What we'll do is we'll also tell it where on the palette it's going to live. So TMyButton. We will keep it on the palette page, and then we will go ahead and build that application. So this will now generate. So now we can tell the IDE that we want to create a package to host this component. So we'll name the package. We'll call it My Controls. This is where I'll put all my extended controls from the framework. And what you see here is a C++ application to host the control and the package itself. So as we build this and link it, what we get out of this now is a 32-bit package. And you can see that the IDE knows that since it's a package file, it's going to go ahead and install that directly into the IDE. When it does that, it allows me then to reference it as a control from an app. So let's go ahead and build a new VCL form application. And then we'll look for, in the palette here, we'll look for My Button. There it is. So this was what comes out of me creating an ancestor called TMyButton and putting it onto the palette. So we're going to go ahead and build that 32-bit Windows application, and there it is. It's running. And we'll go ahead. Actually, one thing I want to show you here real quick is that this is indeed a 32-bit process. Let me bring up a task manager here. So 32-bit package loaded into a 32-bit Windows application. Now, if I just go ahead and pick 64-bit as a new platform for targeting my application, you'll find, or I should say, the linker won't find the 64-bit version of the package or the reference file that it needs. So what we need to do now is build a 64-bit version of that package itself. So we add that target, and we'll go ahead and build that package. And now we have all the necessary files that we need for a 64-bit application to be able to link and load this component. So although the IDE is using a 32-bit version of the component, I now also have a 64-bit version of the component that we can use to link into the 64-bit app and use it in my 64-bit Windows application. So let's select the project and we build. We'll see this up and running here shortly. Okay, 64-bit application. There's my button again. And we'll see that it is indeed a 64-bit Windows VCL application. So there you have it. That's how easy it is to create a 64-bit Windows package and to generate the required files, both 32-bit and 64-bit, to support design time and to get it into the IDE and into your applications. So, very simple skill that you just learned today, but it delivers a lot of opportunities for you in how you create your app, how you architect your app, how you deploy your app. But for fun, I'd like to put out a challenge to any of you that are on this session today. I'd like to see who can build the most interesting C++ component for a 64-bit VCL application. Now, interesting is a qualitative judgment, and I'm going to be the sole judge. So you have no one to blame but me, or thank, if you build the most interesting C++ component. So what I'd like you to do is go get the 64-bit. If you don't have XE6, go get the free 30-day license. You can download that today, get it installed, and play with building 64-bit VCL components this weekend. After you're satisfied that you've built the most interesting C++ component, go ahead and clean the project, zip it up, attach it, and send it to me, JT at Embarcadero.com. And if you could use the subject DSS for Developer Skill Sprint, 5/29 for the date, challenge entry. Now, a couple of rules here is if you do submit an entry, we will make that project, we will share that project with anybody else who participated in the in this event. And I will also say that whomever I judge to have delivered the most interesting project with a C++ component in it for 64-bit Windows, they'll get something special from me. And that something special is a classic C++ Builder t-shirt, the real C++ t-shirt that is actually still in the shrink wrap. And so I'll pop a picture up here in a moment for you to see that, and wish you the best of luck. That concludes today's Developer Skill Sprint. Again, the idea was to share with you something that is quick and easy to pick up and start using and working with. And you can find the schedule up on our website. But a couple things to keep in mind. One is that this is an XE6 feature, so you can only try this in XE6, and you can try it free for 30 days. So if you don't already have an XE6 license, go get the free C++ Builder 30-day license, and let's see what you got. Let's build me an interesting C++ component. Okay, well, with that, I'd like to thank you guys for being participants in this first developer skill sprint, and let's open it up for questions.
And okay, and JT, there's the collectible T-shirt.
Yes, this particular T-shirt has been in that shrink wrap for about 10 years. I got it when I was on the C++ Builder 6 team, and here we are with C++ Builder XE6.
And it's folded and compressed, taking all the air out and shrink wrap down to a little package that's about maybe 4 inches tall by 3 inches wide and about maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick. So when you unpack it, whoever the winner is, it will be very wrinkled. It'll take a while to stretch it out, just the way that they put it together into such a small place.
So you can either wear it with pride or have a nice memento for your office.
Absolutely. And JT mentioned one thing here. He mentioned about he mentioned Tuesday, Wednesday. It's actually Tuesday, Thursday.
Oh yeah, thanks, David.
Those are Tuesday, Thursdays, starting today, all the way through the end of July. Steve asked a question at the end here. Are these sessions only going to be use C++ Builder? And the answer is no. If you look at the schedule, there's many topics that are cross languages, some even Windows specific, mobile specific, backend as a service or REST specific. In many cases, we'll be using Object Pascal and C++.
Right.
And go ahead, Steve.
And just like you saw today, the main goal of these sprints is to really just take about 10 or 15 minutes of your time, but walk away with something valuable that you can use today. So that's going to be the theme that you see throughout these sessions.
Yep.
So I see a question in here about, can I open my existing 32-bit project and package project and rebuild? And the answer is yes. Basically, you just like you saw me do today in my application or my package file, I would add a 64-bit target. So I would open up my 32-bit project inside C++ Builder XE6, add the 64-bit target, and rebuild. Just one thing to remember, and we'll talk about this next week there in the mobile C++ Mobile Day as well, is that the new compiler is a little more strict on C++. So although, of course, it supports all the what are locally known as the Borland language extensions, it is going to be a little more strict on the language itself. So you may have to fix some of your code to be more compliant with C++ as you move forward into the new compiler.
Yeah, the C++ compiler and the mobile compilers all support the latest versions of the C++ language, C++ 11.
That's correct.
And are a common front end of the compiler. Different from the 32-bit, but the team is investigating how to make sure we have the same C++ compilers everywhere.
That's right.
And for Delphi developers, you're able to already build packages and components for 32-bit and 64-bit Windows for a couple versions now. Now we've gotten in XE6 the 64-bit packages. We had the 64-bit compiler back in XE3, and then it just took a little more time to get the package support put into the new compiler front end. And then another comment, Steve, he asked the question about why wasn't a compiler switch implemented for the Unicode change in the 2009 editions and beyond?
The main reason is that Unicode is everywhere. We are in a global world. Most APIs are supporting Unicode these days as well, and it made sense back then to make that move wholesale. I mean, otherwise you'll be writing a lot of if-defs and doing a lot of checks. It add a lot of complexity to your source code.
And I added some comments of, wow, let's see, multiple versions of libraries, multiple versions of DLLs, multiple versions of components, having to write code to test what string type you're dealing with. If you get a library or something, some component from another developer, and ultimately having your applications work everywhere. If you want to build an application, use it in the UK or the US, that's interesting. But if your customers or users inside your company also want to use those applications in China, Russia, Israel, choose the places, Taiwan, Korea, and so on, and support those character types. Also, databases, SQL databases. Interbase has had Unicode support for several releases now, and you might run into a Unicode string inside of an Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server or Interbase or whatever database, and how you're going to deal with it other than writing some special code to handle. So ultimately, in this global planet, we made the choice to have string be a Unicode string. Can you debug a BPL? Let's see. Well, if you have debug information, then you can step through code, and if you have the source code, you can step through code.
Yeah, you just need to have access to the sources and build with debug info.
Is it possible to build with runtime packages, put the necessary packages into one user build package so you don't have to deploy dozens of packages? And the answer is you can create a new package and just say uses components, other packages, requires, and build a super package if you want to have one large, big BPL to carry around.
Mm-hmm.
And then Marcelo asked, is it possible to compile a package with a DLL extension?
Well, a package is a DLL. It does have some extra features in it, which it enables it to do some memory management when you're working with objects and dealing with exception handling. So it has quite a bit more features than a typical DLL.
And components, pieces that are inside of it. Yeah.
Right. So it has some metadata that gives information about what's inside of it. But with that said, from the system perspective, it looks just like a DLL. I don't really, although you can't compile it to a DLL, I'd probably change the name to a DLL and load it, but I'd be interested to understand the use case or the reasoning behind that. I mean, the fact that it's called a BPL really has no bearing on the fact that it works just like a DLL. And however, your app is going to look for something with the BPL extension.
Robert was asking, can I assume the same paradigm works in Delphi? And the answer is yes. We have packages in Delphi for 32-bit and 64-bit packages, and for packages that we use across all the platforms with the compilers in Delphi. In the case of packages right now for C++, it's what? 32-bit Windows, 64-bit Windows?
And 32-bit Mac.
And 32-bit Mac.
We do not support packages on mobile, and there's good reasons for this. Mostly, the main reason is that the concept of a shared library doesn't really exist on a mobile system, since each application is sequestered from other applications. They run in their own sandbox, their own process space. There's no way to deploy a shared library that multiple apps can use unless you own the operating system. So, of course, Apple and Google can do this, but a typical developer cannot. So it did not make sense to deliver package support on mobile. So package support is a desktop option that's available to you either as like a DLL under Windows or an SO under Mac. The other question here, is it possible to remove all not needed packages so the XE will be smaller? Yes. If you're dynamic linking anyways, the XE will be smaller anyways. But certainly you can say, don't load these packages. You can do that kind of optimization for the IDE as well. If you're not using some feature that gets loaded as a design time package, you can tell the IDE not to load it, and that'll make it load faster and potentially run faster as well. Question on how to use a package dynamically. So as I mentioned, a package is basically a dynamic library. Now, the nice thing about using packages within our environment is a lot of this is done automatically for you. As you saw in the demonstration, when I built a 32-bit package with a design time component in it, it knew that it could install it, and it did so on my behalf into the palette. So this is a benefit of using a package inside our environment versus just a standard DLL. Another example is I rebuilt 64-bit. When you reference a design time package but go to build for another platform, the IDE or project management system knows where to look for those files. First of all, using packages in there builds in all the sort of the project management and path management that you need to be able to load up these separate operating systems. Same as when you go to mobile and you build components that are meant to run on mobile, you do build Win32 versions for them that represent those components inside the desktop environment, inside the Win32 IDE. That's one benefit. Now, the other benefit is that to use it dynamically, it is kind of done for you. You basically would use or reference the package in your project. You then can include the header file and call into that library. So like a traditional DLL where you would include the header file, the linker then would look for a static library or some kind of import library in order to resolve the external name, and then the DLL would get loaded at runtime once you make that connection. So a package works that same way, and a lot of that, again, because of the extra information and metadata that goes in there, very easy to use. A lot of it's pretty much done automatically for you. You don't have to do load library. You don't have to look for symbol names like you would if you were loading some unknown shared object.
And again, check the project options, and you can go to the doc wiki as well. Go to docwiki.embarcadero.com or CBuilder or Delphi, and just search for dynamic packages or link with dynamic packages. You can also include or exclude which packages you want to be dynamically linked or not, so you don't get everything. You can choose which ones.
One thing to just be careful there about mixing static and dynamic link libraries, though, is that you want to make sure you use a shared runtime library, because what could happen is you could have different copies of the RTL, and things will get interesting when you start messing with memory and other core RTL functions. So just make sure you use a shared RTL across all of them. So anyways, thank you for participating in this kickoff of Developer Skill Sprints. Lots of other cool stuff coming. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys can produce in terms of an interesting control. This is not a contest. It's just a challenge. It's between me and you. And I'm giving away one of my personal items here that I think can be appreciated by C++ and C++ Builder developers. So looking forward to this.
Will you sign it over the shrink wrap if you go across the white letters?
If they want me to sign it, I absolutely will.
You can sign on the shrink wrap without getting hurt.